Welcome to this week's episode of the Soto Mojo Podcast. Dude, it's kind of a bad week to get rid of your tagline.
I know.
Considering it used
There's
to be,
so much that
let's
happened.
bring the heat, and Jerry just turned on the stove.
Yeah.
So
Jerry burned the house down.
Well, I mean, he's building the house.
It's a good thing.
He's building the house. He's not tearing it down. This is a good week. But just as a heads up, we have a ton of Mariners updates to get to.
Yes.
So we are finally.
Yes.
So we are going to hit the around the league quickly, as quick as we can. But we got to get to these Mariners updates because there are plenty.
So I'm just going to zoom around the league real quick. We have a lot of one-year deals to barely go over because they're sort of mid in a way, except one, in my opinion. We have David Robertson going to the Rangers for $11 million. I mean, the guy's 38 years old.
1 year deal.
1 year deal.
Get in the bag.
38 years old and is still hucking the ball pretty well.
Get in the bag, dude. 11 mil.
We have Travis Jankowski with Texas. Mariner legend Travis Jankowski.
Yeah. He was great off the bench for Texas last year, especially in the postseason. So, like, that's a solid pickup. That's not surprising that he went back there.
We have another Mariners legend, Adam Frazier, going to the Kansas City Royals.
Well, and we'll get back to Adam Frazier in a bit.
We have Aaron Hicks going to the Angels, which they told him specifically that he'll have an everyday starting spot, which is laughable.
Well, and the Yankees are keeping a bunch of his contracts still, I heard. Yep. So they're going to be above the luxury tax for him and another guy. Yeah, they're above the luxury tax. Yeah, it's just going to be a nightmare for them.
They're such a horribly run organization, and it really makes me happy and sad that Mike Trout is still there.
Yeah, well, he'll probably get traded at the deadline if they're being terrible. I mean, seriously, they probably will.
Or two relievers. I don't know.
I don't even know.
That's how the Angels operate. Yeah. Then we have Adam Ottavino. I mean, MLB The Show legend Adam Ottavino.
Back with the Mets.
Going to the Mets. Yep. I mean, just solid reliever, throws funky, has really good stuff. And then Hector Neris, which we can't stand here over here.
Cannot stand him.
He had that entire, racial thing last year with Julio near the end of the year, and he's just an absolute, I don't even want to say it.
Jerk.
Because I can't
say
it.
We'll say jerk.
I'll say that's the nice way to say it.
Sure. But, I mean, he goes to the NL. He gets out of the AL West, so we will not see him going to the Cubs. Whatever, making some 1 year money. We also saw Jock Peterson. So Jock Peterson,
that's the biggest one,
went on a 1 year deal to the Diamondbacks. I'm actually surprised, just because I thought JD Martinez was going to get that spot, and I think they probably wanted him. But Scott Boras, man, Boras thinks all of his clients just deserve $1 billion, and so he's holding out. And none of his guys are
in his pockets too.
Right,
that's the thing.
Right.
So
JD Martinez doesn't get that spot with the D-backs. Jock Peterson goes. He was joking today about how he doesn't know he's going to handle the 120-degree weather. Luckily, they play in a climate-controlled dome there in Arizona.
Still Arizona.
But it's still hot.
Good.
Still hot. So, yeah, lots of one-year deals. The Mariners made the most noise this week by a huge margin, and we're going to get into all of what that looked like.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you,
Mostly Justin, by the way.
Yeah, Justin apparently was a dog in the Polanco deal, which we'll talk about in just a little bit here. A couple other minor things. We did get into a tiny little Twitter beef with some folks about the Nationals jerseys. Ethan doesn't agree with me. I thought the new Nationals jerseys were fire. I thought they were cool.
Yeah, I don't think they're good.
They looked clean to me.
I don't like block letter jerseys.
That's fair. I liked the state of DC, and then I don't know. I just thought it was cool.
I like the patch. I don't like what it says in the front.
If I'm being honest, I don't like their W. I think their W, their curly, their Walgreens W is terrible. And so for me, I don't mind that at all. Moving away from that, but
you know what else they did that I do not like? They're getting rid of their cherry blossom uniforms.
Right, I saw that. They're already stupid. They're retiring a City Connect uniform already. I was super weirded out by that.
It's a good City Connect uniform,
right?
So when it goes on sale, on sale on Fanatics, I'll definitely get it.
They must not be selling. That must be the issue.
I don't know. So, well, I mean, it's a pretty crappy ball club, so I mean, I wouldn't want to get anything from it either.
Fair enough.
I was debating on getting Mariner stuff as of 2 months ago. So
wow, says the guy that has a City Connect already.
Yeah, but I got that in July.
There
So, and I'm going to opening day.
you go.
I got the tickets yesterday.
Got him.
So
Red Sox.
that Mitch ovation is going to be great
That will
on
be.
opening day.
Yeah, Haniger's
That's what I'm
gonna
looking
hear it,
forward
man.
to
It's
right
gonna be
there.
fun. We also saw a prospect deal. We're seeing a lot more and more of this as the league is getting more and more, open bringing up their prospects. I think the Angels, surprisingly enough, are like setting the tone with this, where they're showing that like guys can come up way earlier than expected and then produce. Like Shanwell is a solid first baseman for them.
Well, the thing with Shanwell is we knew that he was the most major league ready out of all the prospects. That
That's
didn't mean he
true.
was the best and had the most upside. It just meant he was the most major league ready. I mean, he was a 4-year
But
starter.
he still got drafted and got called up in the same year.
Yes.
That's super weird. And
No,
I
I
think
mean,
it's
they
gonna
set the
happen more
tone
and
with
more.
that. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, if it would have been anybody in that draft, it would have been Shanwell.
Sure. But I think even like Julio is gonna also set the tone for what new contracts are gonna look like, where they're more incentive laden. They're more, like, hey, if you hit these markers, if you get these MVP votes, if you get these whatever,
Yep.
like that ends up being. And so we saw the Tigers' top prospect Colt Keith just signed with the Tigers, and so he's gonna make crazy money, 82 mil over 9 years with 3 club options, and those
Well,
cover 2023, 31, and 32.
but here's the thing, though. That 82 mil you just mentioned, that's what it maxes out as. It starts as a base of 6-year, 28.6 million, and then it's incentivized, and then it could go up to 9 years, 82 mil.
Right.
So, and then the last 3 years are all club options.
Yeah.
So, like, we saw this with Jackson Chorio earlier this offseason.
Right.
Teams are just starting to
They're
leave,
locking their guys up early,
locking their guys up early.
and it makes sense,
Julio
honestly.
was the first. Julio and Wander Franco were the first two to
Mega
really
deals, yeah.
like set the standard for rookies in a way. But now with Chorio, we've seen big deals to prospects.
Yep.
I imagine the Orioles are going to do the same thing with
Of course.
Holiday.
Yeah, they're gonna do the same thing with Holiday. We're gonna see it across the board. I wouldn't be
And
surprised
I
if
like it.
Tamar Johnson with the Pirates,
Mm,
he'll probably get one.
maybe.
He
I'm not
will.
sure about that one.
I mean, we'll see.
I could see it with like Ethan Salas
Yeah.
with the
Yep.
Padres.
Salas for
If you
sure
don't know
could.
Ethan Salas is, he's a stud.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, I think we're gonna see these more and more as we continue on.
Yep.
But speaking of outrageous money,
Hmm.
so we officially have the numbers. We've guesstimated from what we've seen about what Blake Snell is asking for.
My
so we've
God.
yeah, so we found out it's Blake Snell 270 over 9 years is what he's asking for. So 30 mil AAV. And I'm like, dude, no wonder the Mariners passed. They're not
No
paying
wonder
that.
why everybody
They're not
passed.
paying that. And
They're
so
not
we
paying
we
that.
we also last week we were saying that we had heard whispers of a Yankees offer. We did get confirmation that there was one. It was at 150 mil over 6 years. So 3 less years of a deal and 5 mil less AAV.
And he would get crushed at Yankee Stadium,
Right.
by the way.
Right. I don't think that New York would be a good fit for him either way, no
I don't
matter what.
understand what their hunch about signing
But
big pitchers is now,
we're
too.
talking about big. Like we're way far away. I'm honestly more and more as time goes by, I'm thinking Blake is going to wait for spring training, man. I think he's
Honestly,
going to wait for an injury.
I really don't see.
And teams get desperate to add a starting pitcher so that their season isn't over before it gets started.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see. Today we saw some interesting updates, mostly in the AL West. We heard that Corey Seager had sports hernia surgery today, and so he's going to miss all of spring training. He's trying to be ready by opening day.
Yep.
So we'll see. Like I said, dude, I think the Rangers are just like mailing in the first half of their season.
That's what it seems like.
It feels like
Like,
that.
they really don't care that much. I think they're just going to try and make a push in the second half.
Yeah. So I bet you
Which,
they're going to shoot for 500 ball, through the first half, and then make a big push once everybody comes back
and it's
healthy.
odd because last year they had a good start, and then now,
And then they faltered
then they
during the
faltered
summer.
after the
Yeah.
All-Star break, and
Yep.
then they made a good run at the end of the year.
Right.
Wow. I just saw this live. The Angelos family is selling the Orioles.
Whoa.
Yeah. Holy cow. Anyway,
Yeah, that's big breaking news.
that is breaking news.
Wow.
That'll be
Interesting.
our big breaking news for around the league. But then,
There you go. We still have one more. I mean, just one quick thing that fans were really caring about today.
Completely skipped
The
over this.
yeah, the show cover came out today. There's a lot of people that thought it was Julio. Going to be Julio. A guy named Fuzzy on X actually pointed out.
I love Fuzzy.
Yeah,
He's great.
dude, I love Fuzzy. But just to give him credit, like I said, we always like to give credit on this show. Fuzzy came out and said that a player has to wait 3 years to be on a different game cover, and Julio was on the Tap Sports Baseball 23. So,
Also, MLB The Show. I play MLB The Show a lot, right? Jazz Chisholm was a complete waste of a cover athlete, in
and
my
and
opinion.
now
And then
Vlad,
now you're doubling down on stupid.
right? Because
Like, what
Vlad
are you
had the
doing?
worst season of his career last year, and somehow makes the cover of the show.
Like, you could have gone Ronald. You could have
Yeah, how do you
gone.
not go Acuna?
You could
How
have
do you not go
gone.
Acuna?
You could have gone like Jose Ramirez. You could have gone maybe like Mookie route. You could have gone. You couldn't have gone Otani, obviously.
It should.
You could
Well,
have gone
Otani was
someone.
last year, wasn't he? 2 years ago.
Otani was 21.
Yeah, so 2 years ago.
You could have gone like even like the depths like Manny Machado, Nolan Arenado. Like
Yeah, there's a lot of
you go
names.
Vlad.
There's
Really,
a,
he's not even the best player in his team.
right. There's a lot of names above Vlad, in my opinion.
I mean, the Marlins when they did it with Chaz. I mean, there was the same thing. He's not even
Right.
the best player in his team.
Right.
So
Agreed. So with that being said, look at that. We wrapped it up in 10 minutes. That was our goal.
there we go.
Boom. Around the league, accomplished. Let's get into our Mariners updates. All right, so we got to start with the big hitter. We made a huge trade yesterday. There was a lot of consternation because there was a leak like at 8 o'clock in the morning Pacific time that a deal was coming. We got the eyes emoji all over the place. We had people saying that they had inside sources that stuff was going down.
Yeah,
And then Mariners Twitter was like melting down by like 2 p.m. And I was
you
one of
were
them.
one of them.
I was one of
Yeah,
them.
I was about to call you out
I'm
for that
calling
if you didn't
myself
say it.
out. I'm
Yeah,
calling myself out.
you're
When,
ready.
when you say that like things are breaking, I expect that that's happening like within the hour.
These guys don't know what they're talking about. But then again, they get told what they get told, and they don't make the decision.
I know.
So I mean, you just got to let it sizzle a
Let
little
it
bit.
simmer. Let it simmer. But that being said, pretty cool that we called a trade. And we're definitely not the only ones. There's a lot of folks that were saying the same thing. But if you went back and re-listened to our first or second episode, I'm pretty sure we did talk about it. Like we talked about how we wanted Jorge Polanco.
Yeah, I just didn't think it
Polanco's
would happen.
a great fit, exactly what we're looking for. High contact, high barrel, low strikeout, high walk, good middle of the lineup bat, consistent second baseman when he's healthy. I feel like we have that asterisk on a lot of players this season.
Yeah. So if you didn't know about yesterday at about around this, or not this time, we're
Almost
recording at
5
4
o'clock.
o'clock,
Yeah.
4 o'clock, 5 o'clock ish. Mariners acquire Jorge Polanco. They send Gabby Gonzalez, their number 3 overall prospect. Probably shouldn't have been number 3.
Yeah.
Justin Topa, Darren Bowen, and Anthony DeSclafani. So they get off DeSclafani's contract. They get rid of a prospect in Gabby Gonzalez who he could be a great player, but he's not even close to the majors yet. 2026, 2027 arrival.
You got to give to get.
Yeah. And then same with Darren Bowen. I mean, he's great, but he's in single A. So
Right.
like this is a ways away.
This is a
And
win
you get
now
rid of
move.
Justin Topa, and you've proven year after year that you grow relievers off trees.
Yeah. If we were at this time last year and we were telling people that we traded Justin Topa for Polanco,
They'd be like, oh,
they'd be like, great. Because Topa was
Yeah.
a nobody before he came to the Mariners, and he went into the lab and we churned out a good 7th inning, not leverage guy. Topa didn't pitch a whole lot of leverage innings, but he was a good 6th, 7th inning guy that came in and held it down, and he did well. I'm not going to talk down on him. I'm pumped on what Topa gave us. But at the end of the day, we pull a guy like this out of the hat every year.
Yep. And, you've proven it year after year. Another point I want to make is you get off DeSclafani's contract. He was getting paid $11 million to basically not pitch on your roster.
Right.
Other than Chris Flexen, which is Chris Flexen type role worth $11 million. No,
Of course not.
he's getting paid more than Kirby, Gilbert, Miller, and Wu like combined.
Right. So we trade that contract out for Polanco's, which Polanco's making what, 13 mil, 12 mil?
12,
Yeah,
I
12,
believe.
12 mil this year, and then has a club option for the following. And I go, man, so we're trading
Topa
money.
made some dough after arbitration.
Yeah. So it's basically net money wise.
Mhm.
And our payroll is at 123. We did find that out after all these moves that have happened. And here's the deal. Polanco, since 2021, is the 5th highest rated second baseman in all of baseball. I mean, he's above Simeon when it comes to
Offensive production.
And obviously defensively, he's not as good as Simeon. But I'm also like, dude, Perry Hill, and I know he's not a miracle worker, but he kind of is. Like he raises the floor of these guys when he puts in work with them. And so I'm looking at this going, hey, that's great. The biggest concern for Polanco is his injury history.
Yep.
And
Well, case in point, this is kind of what's been the theme of this offseason, getting guys who can produce when they are healthy.
right. But Jerry did come on this morning, which again we're going to talk about in a little bit. He did come on his normal weekly interview, is really well timed with all the Polanco stuff,
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, like we're not as concerned about the injuries that he had last year, like a hamstring and other things. He's like those are fully recovered. And then if you go look at his stats, dude, the end of 23, he was on fire.
He was.
And so he obviously had recovered from those injuries. He did go on the IL twice last year. And it feels like we're just doing that with a lot of these guys. Haniger, Garver, Polanco. We're just hoping that none of them go on the IL.
Yeah, I'm just really concerned about Haniger. That's really it. I mean, if you can get 100 games out of Polanco, that's a big upgrade
Yeah.
at second base.
And the
At
beauty
basically a
is,
position that's been a hole ever since Robbie Cano left.
and we have the versatility
Mhm.
where to give him a day off, we could put Rojas there, we could play Demo there, we could put Haggerty there. If Haggerty makes the team now, because the
Man,
next
we'll
guy
get
we're
into
going to
that.
talk
Yeah.
about, he might not have a spot. We'll see. But I'm just saying Polanco. Let's go through some of these details like that weren't able to last night. Polanco's a career strikeout percentage is 18%. So the league average, if you don't know, is 25%. So last year he was closer to that 25 number, but he has a career strikeout percentage of 18%. His walk percent is 8.6%, which is point 0.3
And it was
higher than
also
league
like
average.
14% last year. So he
Right.
was way up.
But my point being is like his bad year of Ks is league average.
Yep.
Like that's his absolute worst year in strikeout percentage is the league average.
Yep.
And I go, so we are like, are you sensing a common theme? Like, listen to this. If you go look at his baseball savant page,
I'm
right?
on it right now,
High
actually.
barrel, low chase, low K, high walk, high sweet spot, low whiff. Are you noticing a theme? Like with literally all these
Yes.
guys, with Garver, with all, right? Like all these guys have this
Barrels.
similar profile, and it's barrels.
It's always been barrels
Barrels
as
are what
since the
plays
beginning.
in T-Mobile.
Yep.
And he's also a pull hitter, man. And so he's a switch hitter,
He's a switch hitter, yeah.
but he does primarily bat left-handed. That's his like primary. And when you
He's
look at,
actually better right-handed too.
well,
But
I mean, I think left-handed. The highlights I've seen of him, like Hector Neris home run. By the way, his statistics against the Astros are like
they're
they're
awesome.
insane.
They're pretty good.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at it going, man, like he's a big pull hitter, 33% pull, 28% is league average for that. And a little cool little tidbit. We found out today that Polanco and Julio work out in the same facility in the offseason.
Yep.
So that's not saying they're like best friends, by any means, but
Yeah.
they definitely know each other and,
And are
work out
fond
in
of
the
each
same
other.
facility.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So another thing with Polanco when it comes to barrel, this is why we preach barrel percentage and just barrels in general. He would have had 3 more home runs last year if he would have played in Seattle over Minnesota. And people are like, oh, the Marine layer. I mean, it exists. Like, we can't deny that it exists. But he would have had 19 bombs instead of 16 last year if he was with us.
Yeah.
So that's one thing to point out. So
I also love that he's really clutch in clutch
it's really
situations,
clutch.
dude.
Yep.
So if you go look, they have statistics for this. I love baseball. They have a stat for everything. But he has a plus 120 WRC plus in medium and in high leverage spots. Compare that with Teo last year, which had a 39.
Gino.
39. Teo was 39 WRC plus in high leverage spots last year.
Meaning, if you want to do the math, 61% below league average. 61% below league average. Let that sink in.
Absolutely ludicrous.
I'm overall a really fan of this trade, a really big fan of this trade.
Yeah.
Just because the prospects that you traded really don't fit the window. You have replacements at each position.
At all of them, right.
I mean, Gabby Gonzalez is going to get replaced by Lazaro Montes. Darren Bowen. When it comes to pitchers, honestly, it really depends on what league or organization that you're in.
We were big on Bowen, though. We were both high on him.
Different than the Angels or the Rockies or the whatever. We're higher tier. We're like almost in the Rays range of developing pitching. So, I mean, the Twins have obviously shown that they can develop pitching.
Yep.
But then again, he's a ways away. And you trade DeSclafani, get rid of his contract, who's never going to pitch, and you grow relievers on trees. Like I said, I think this move has brought us now to where our roster is better now than it was last year. And I don't think it's close.
So I agree. I think we're definitely deeper.
We're definitely deeper.
I think you can say that.
But I look at this lineup right now.
Yeah, the lineup is.
And I see JP, Julio, Jorge Polanco, Garver, Cal, Ty, Rayleigh, Mitch, and Rojas. I see Mitch Haniger hitting 8th. 2 years ago, he hit 4th or 5th.
Or second. He did bat second for a while, yeah.
So, the lineup has gotten a lot deeper.
A lot
We'll get
longer.
into some of our other,
It raises the floor. That's
yeah.
what you want. Like it raises the floor. It gives us depth. It gives us injury protection. We have guys like, so for instance, if Ty goes down again with an injury, which seems to happen at least once every year,
Mhm.
we have Rayleigh that can come in and play a competent
And
first.
then you have someone you can replace in left field then,
Right.
which is
Exactly right.
perfect.
And so you have Canzone in outfield. Like, I'm just saying, like, we have depth all over the place. And the thing that made me excited, so I want you to know, like, last night I sat down and like sat back after all these moves, and I go, dude, Jerry did it.
How did he do it?
How did he do that? Like, all of a sudden I'm looking at this lineup going, dude, we're deep. We've got guys that barrel. We've lowered our K percentage by a huge margin, our walk percentage by a huge margin as a team. Our WRC plus, our WAR, everything is better than it was at this time last year.
So they
And he did it
manage.
with 10 mil less in payroll so
That's what I'm
far.
saying. So like they managed to bring in Jorge Polanco, Mitch Garver, Luke Rayleigh, Mitch Haniger, Luis Urias, Zebi Savala, and they managed to deplete 10 mil and got better.
Right.
That how?
That's magic, dude. That's black
How do you
magic.
do that?
Right.
Like you can go through every move and be like, okay, that makes sense. Because we, as the Mariners, we do make small incremental moves, not the big move. But like looking at it through like a big lens, you're like, oh my gosh, how did
Right.
he do this?
Right. So we were highly critical of Jerry because of how long it took to get us started and get us into the move. And I'll 100% right now say, man, Jerry, Sir Hollander, well done.
Great job.
Like
They get an A. I don't care.
mm,
The ownership gets F. They get an A.
I would say B plus, A
How?
minus.
What? What else is
Third
there?
base still freaks me out.
It
It
still freaks you
it
out,
still freaks me out.
but the
But now we're
fact that
deeper where it might not matter as much
it
because
might not
here's
matter as much.
here's what I was realizing last night, and other people were saying this. I was not the only one saying this. Is you go from every game we're starting Rojas and Urias to, or sorry, you go from every game where we are starting both of them, right? Rojas and Urias to now it's either or,
So now you, instead of hoping that both of them hit, you can only hope that one hits.
right?
So
And you're filling it with a guy that is a proven vet that has proven he can hit in a tough stadium. Minnesota is not any better to hit in than T-Mobile.
yeah.
It might be
Have you
even
seen how tall
harder.
that right field wall
Right.
is?
It's probably even harder.
Yeah.
And so I look at it and I go, so a guy that's a proven bat, proven player, vet leadership, gets along with Julio. Man, I'm just saying, like, this move is, to me, this move is a home run. The guys that don't like this, I don't even know, bro. You guys are just hating for no
You guys are
reason.
just hating the Mariners just because all you people on Instagram. Had you ever seen the Instagram
I
comments?
don't.
Sell the team. Oh, we'll definitely win 54%. Shut up. Right? The people on Twitter actually like somewhat know what they're talking about. Like
Mostly.
people on Instagram are just like the 30-year-old dads that just see it out of like, oh, we didn't get
We didn't get a
incredibly better
big
today,
name.
so the whole offseason's a failure and our franchise is a failure.
Here's the deal. They got
Whatever.
all. Hey, here's the other thing we didn't talk about. We added all of those players. We lessened our payroll by 10 million, and we didn't touch our starting rotation.
Yeah, we didn't give up any
Which, by the way,
big
I'll
pieces.
say this right now. When guys were talking about Dylan Cease, I was like, "What are you guys talking
What do you?
about?"
Yeah,
Our 5 starting pitchers, all 5 of them are in the top 50 in all of baseball for starting pitchers. All 5 of them.
yep.
So check this out. Listen to this. I just put this in the notes earlier today. So Kirby, number 5, Castillo, number 7, Gilbert, number 11, Wu, number 41, Miller, number 42. That's in all of baseball. We have 5 top 50. There are teams that don't even have 2. All
Yeah,
5 of our starters are in the top 50.
yeah.
And so you're telling me that we're going to go trade for Dylan Cease, and people are talking about trading for Dylan Cease with one of our young pitchers. I'm like, what would be the point of that? We're going to give up years of control, these rookies that we don't even know yet. Like, we have not even come close to seeing Wu or Miller's ceiling.
No, not at
Not
all.
even close. And
Half
so
of a season.
I'm looking at this trade going, dude, we again, like, somehow the floor of this team, our floor is probably 90 wins now. I mean, I think 90 wins is a
I think it's realistic.
I think
Yeah,
it's realistic. I think
very
it's
realistic.
possible. I think if we stay healthy, with a big asterisk next to the word healthy,
Yeah, but
which is
then
what we've talked about.
yeah, I mean, but we're also is what kind of segue into what we're talking about next.
Yeah.
We are building our team based off of oh crap, this guy's hurt. What are we gonna do now?
Right.
Instead of other years prior where it's like,
We're gonna
well,
build it to work the first
we're
time, and
gonna
then if anybody gets hurt, we're in trouble.
yeah. So
Yeah, so tell me, so we made another move today. Like we said,
another move this
the
morning. I
stove
actually really like this
the stove
move.
is hot.
I love this
I
move.
love this move. Go ahead.
So Mariners acquire Samad Taylor from the Royals, who is a 25-year-old utility man who is lightning quick. He's basically Sam Haggerty,
He's a better version of Cabby to me
in my opinion. Yes.
because he's not gonna probably play a lot of defense. He's not gonna see a lot of ABs. He's probably gonna be in AAA for the majority of the year, but he's probably gonna be a September call-up
Yeah.
or August or whatever, and
He's gonna pinch run,
he's gonna pinch run,
and he's not gonna get picked
and
off.
he's not gonna be picked off. I mean, listen to this, man. So, like, this guy in AAA last year had 43 stolen bases, batted 301, 884 OPS. He had 55
As a small
RBIs
guy.
and 335 ABs. So, yeah, he's not going to come in and hit home runs. So, again, he's Cabby, right? He's not going to hit home runs. He's a contact hitter, but he's better than Cabby.
Yep.
He's better than Cabby. And, I mean, listen to this, dude. So, the Rainiers, they're going to be fun to watch.
They're actually gonna be
They're going to be
decent.
freaking fun. Because listen to this, dude. We're going to be stealing bags.
Yeah.
So we have Taylor, who we just signed, who had 51 total stolen bases in 23. We have Bliss, who's going to probably be so Bliss is going to be our starting shortstop, and Samad is going to be our starting second baseman. And Bliss had 55 total stolen bases, and then Clase is probably going to start with AAA, and he's going to be at 79 stolen bases in
Yeah.
23. Like, dude, we're going to be stealing bags.
They're gonna be stealing bags. They're not gonna hit it for a lot of power, but
No,
they're gonna be a little.
they're going to
They're
be
gonna be
moving.
like the Royals from however many moons ago.
Yeah. But here's
So
the deal. So Samad Taylor, his story is kind of funny because it has some weird ties. So first of all, we traded with the Royals for Samad because Kansas City needed to make room.
for
Mariners legend.
Adam Frazier,
So Adam Frazier got picked up by the Royals, and so to make room for him, they had to drop Samad.
which is stupid. I would not have dropped him out of all the people that they
No.
had. I
So
mean, they're garbage.
they traded him to us for either a player to be named later or cash considerations, MVP cash considerations, undefeated. And so some really funny little tidbits about him. So first of all, he got traded to open up room for Adam. Second of all, his first MLB hit was a walk-off against the Angels,
Mhm.
which is hilarious. And he was actually in the trade that got Whit Merrifield to Toronto.
Kansas City really lost that deal.
Right.
Man,
So it's kind of weird. Like, this guy has a lot of interesting quirks about his story of how he got there.
Mhm.
He does play second base mostly, but he did have
He's
a
corner
bunch of
outfield.
corner outfield spots as well. He did play third base a couple of times. To me, I just see him fitting in a cabbie like role.
Yeah,
Honestly.
which is I'm completely fine with
right.
that.
Hang out in AAA, go rake, bat over 300.
And he's been in the bigs before. That's
He's
what
been in the
matters too.
bigs. He's
Cabby had never been stepped foot in like AAA
right.
before last year, and
Right.
we were expecting him to, be our utility guy for most of the season.
Right.
So this guy's stepped foot. He's only has 69 major league plate appearances, but that's not his gig.
Right.
His gig is pinch running, defense. You can put him in right field probably for Mitch if in the later innings.
We have Canzone too.
You know how I feel about his
Oh
defense.
my gosh, we're just going to be at odds about this. I'm telling you, he's better in right field than you give him credit for.
Okay.
So all I'm saying is, so we picked him up. We'll see what we send in return. Normally, when it's a player to be named later, it's normally a guy that's
non-40-man roster guy, just a double-A, whatever.
right. Which it could be a name that we're not exactly pumped on, but normally it's like 2 or 3 that they get to choose from, and they have to wait till a certain date, and then they'll send that name over. So we'll find that out eventually. Or cash. They could just choose to take the cash as well. And then we had another move. So we've had a bunch of moves.
Yeah, this happened about an hour ago.
Right. So Nick Solak signing a minor league deal with the M's, got invited to spring training, played with the Rangers from 2019 to 22, if that name sounds familiar to you. But he only played 2 major league games last year, one with the Braves and one for the Tigers, and had 0 plate appearances.
Well, we also signed him a minor league deal last year too, right? I don't know if you remember that.
I
That's
don't
why
remember that.
That's why I texted you. I said Mariners legend Nick Solak
funny.
because we signed him last year for the exact same reason, and then he didn't make this club out of spring training, and then he went to the Braves.
Yeah, so they're taking a flyer on him.
Yep.
It might not end up being anything. Does play second, third, left field, so kind of
You
the
see
same.
a trend here. You see here's the two things we've gotten. We've gotten utility guys that could play second, third, and corner outfield, and the guys that get hurt.
Those are apparently our MO.
and then pitchers with sliders and cutters.
In keeping within that, we also signed Cole Tucker.
That's not what I'm
So
excited about, but
that's an. I mean, I'm not excited. I'm just telling you,
no,
it's
I'm
another thing
saying
that
that's not
happened.
the part of the signing that I'm excited about.
You're excited about Vanessa Hudgens?
Vanessa Hudgens is
Oh
gonna be
my
in
gosh.
Tacoma.
Are you gonna High School Musical this thing? Are you gonna go
No,
sing to
but
Vanessa
it's
in the
cool.
stands?
It's a
It
cool
is cool.
thing. I
Is she gonna be our Taylor Swift? Is she gonna
okay,
draw
next
attention?
next next segment.
Is she
Next
gonna
segment.
is she gonna draw attention to the Rainiers?
She could.
She could be at Tacoma.
She could post on her story one time on Instagram wearing a Rainiers jersey, and people are gonna flip.
Yep, they will lose their minds.
Yeah,
Little Vanessa
we're
Hudgens.
gonna have.
But she's
Uh,
married, so relax. Relax.
I'm just saying, man, it's good for the city.
Good for what's
It's
good
good
for
for the
this?
city.
It's good for the
Vanessa
city.
Hudgens living in Tacoma.
Oh gosh. So those are the big moves that are happening. We still have a bunch of stuff to cover for the Mariners, so stay buckled in. Let's keep going.
Yep.
There were guys that are changing their tune about Luis Urias, which I thought was funny. Some talking heads, like we've all been kind of anti Luis, like, hey, we don't feel good about third base. Everyone's kind of been consensus. I think people are trying to like Stockholm syndrome themselves into like convincing themselves that he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he might be. I mean, I don't know.
He could be, but then again, I'm not going to bank on a guy being what he was 2 to 3 years ago.
Right. In 21, he was a dog, but
Yeah.
that was 2 seasons ago.
3 seasons ago.
Right. 3 seasons ago now. And so for me, I'm like, I'm not banking on a guy to go back to a different year's
We're just going to
production.
hope that he's going to do this. That's been my problem with other Mariners teams like last year. Well, thank God Kelnick hit for the
Right.
first month.
Right.
Or else it would have been another disaster.
Right.
You know, this year they're counting on Ty, which I mean, I believe it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I believe he's going to go back to what he was before. I mean, last year, same thing. JP. Well, we're going to hope that driveline saves him, and they did.
Right.
Right, but you can't year after year hope that it's going to be like that.
Right. And you can't bank on that. And so I think this year, like that's what I'm saying is like the depth that they've fallen back into and the versatility and not just utility guys. That's what I love. Is this is what we've joked about is like on the show a billion times is we just had a billion utility guys on the roster, which was super irritating.
Mhm.
And now it's like, no, we have guys that like legitimately play those positions that, you know, like guys like Josh Rojas that can play second, can play third, and it's going to be about
They have
equal.
a scenario for everything.
Right.
now.
They have a scenario. Yeah, right. And it's not a utility guy. It's like an actual guy that plays, that's going to platoon, that's going to be, you know, get his plate appearances.
Yep.
Not going to just be a utility guy off the bench that's going to have to fill in the DH role and do nothing. So I'm solid on that. I also wanted to bring up Sarah Langs, man. So Sarah Langs, if you don't know who she is a beast. She's battling ALS. She's a total hero. She's continuing to do interviews and still be on their, you know, on their TV show. And she was talking about her list of top center fielders in all of baseball, and she said that he was number 2 on her list. So she had Aaron Judge, and then she had Julio, and said that Julio is the future of the game, which he ended up quote tweeting. Gave her some credit, gave her some props. I'm just saying, dude.
Sarah knows ball.
Sarah knows ball. First of all, she knows ball.
Other than those other MLB Network idiots who think Alejandro Kirk is better than Cal Raleigh.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. The hard part is like these guys just don't watch Mariners baseball. They don't know.
Well, they don't watch baseball in general.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I look at Sarah and I go, she did the legwork, she did the homework.
Mhm.
She knows what Julio is, not to just Seattle, but to the game in general.
Mhm.
So it's cool to see him get props, but also props to her, man. Like that takes a ton of courage to hop on the mic, struggling, battling through ALS. So that's awesome. Did want to give her a little shout out here.
Yep. Shout out Sarah Langs.
To give an unshout out though, we have been pro Jared Kelnick on this show.
Mhm.
And I've been pro Jared Kelnick his entire career, even when he was with the Mets. And that's starting to shift for me a little bit. I think he got a little wind in his sails that after he did his show last week, that he started to air out Dipoto in the front office that he's like, oh, I could maybe do this a little bit more now. And so in Atlanta, he got asked the question, you know, are you worried? Are you going to be able to hit the same? You know, is it going to be better in Atlanta? And he goes, yeah, it's better than Seattle, that's for sure. And I go, like lefties, like T-Mobile wasn't built for power lefties. Ken Griffey Jr. built this place.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't think it's made for power lefties?
Yeah, I don't know what you're like.
Sorry, bud, you over 40?
Yeah.
Yeah, weird. Is that because of T-Mobile?
Yeah. Jared, you have to hit the ball out of the ballpark.
Weird. You have to be able to hit a curveball.
Yeah,
Shocking.
Yeah, or an outside changeup.
Right. And so I'm just saying, like, man, like, don't do this. Like, don't go down the villain route. I want to root for you. And I'm like, it's also dumb. Like, if you can go online and see your expected home runs.
Hmm.
If he had hit the exact same home runs he hit in T-Mobile in Atlanta,
Yeah.
he had 3 less home runs.
Yeah. I don't.
So literally what you're saying isn't even true.
It's not true. You don't. I mean, you're obviously not going to fact check it because you just want to trash us.
Right.
But I mean,
But here's the
come
reality.
on, man. Like
Atlanta's coming to play Seattle
the fans,
in
the
April
fans have rooted for
the whole
JK
time.
the whole time, and then he goes on the show and he trashes us a little bit, which I understand. You can voice your frustrations, but then you go to an Atlanta fan fest and get asked questions by the media, and then something that hasn't doesn't even have to do with Seattle, you have to say, "Oh, it's better than Seattle for sure."
Right.
Okay, Jared, you really you have to hit the ball to get out of the yard.
Weird.
That's so weird.
You can't just flail at
You
strike 3.
yeah,
Weirdly enough, that doesn't work.
because you were totally not. There's no way in heck that you were top 5 in strikeouts before you got hurt. And how'd you get hurt?
Right.
Come on, man.
So I'm just
I wanted
saying,
to root for you.
I still am. I still am. He's still young. He's still immature. I'm still
He's
rooting for
older
him.
than Julio.
It's true. It's true. So in different news, we do have an updated prospects list, which was cool. That did come out last week. Again, this is before all the big news. So we had all these
Yeah.
news items we wanted to talk about,
Yep.
and then chaos ensued. So walk me through those 3, man. We
So we originally had 4, and then we traded one of the 4. So we have Cole Young at number 37, Harry Ford at number 38. He kind of slid a little
yeah,
bit.
sliding a bit. Yeah, sliding a
And
bit.
then Cole Emerson made number 87. Gabby Gonzalez was number 79 before he ended up getting dealt. I really don't believe he was a top 3 prospect in our
No,
system. To
no.
me, he was around the 6-7 range. I think Lazaro Montes is better.
Yep.
I think Cole Emerson is better. I think there's another one I'm forgetting. It's probably a pitcher, but like Teddy McGraw, I think Teddy McGraw is better.
So yeah, I mean, like I think it's cool. I think it is weird that we don't have any pitchers in that top 100. Like that's
Mhm.
the first time in a while. So that is
So we
weird.
originally had 4, got down to 3. I'm completely fine with trading prospects, by the way.
Yeah, have to.
Have to.
You have to. All good teams do.
This is why you build a farm system.
It's so
Do
you can
you
use it.
guys, anyone listening to this, do you care about how the Modesto Nuts finish? No, you care about how the Seattle Mariners finish.
Right. So we got to leverage those spots. And I don't want to deplete the farm like we've done that before. I don't want to do that. But what I'm saying is we can very obviously, as we're figuring this out, keep the farm somewhat intact
Mhm.
while building up our roster. And that's the beauty of having young talent that comes up through the system is you don't have to use the whole farm to fill out a team.
And I'm gonna go off a little bit here. The
Oop.
people that say, "Oh, we can't give up Gabby Gonzalez
Like
for
why?
Jorge Polanco," who
Why?
cares?
Who
Who
cares?
cares? I'm gonna go watch Jorge Polanco hit third on opening day,
Right.
and you know, Gabby Gonzalez is gonna play for the single A team of the Twins, and you couldn't name where it is,
Right.
right? You don't watch the Nuts. You don't watch the Aqua Sox. Okay, if you do, it's a cool experience to go to, but
It's a fun Sunday afternoon activity, but
yeah,
it's not what you
it's
like
not
care
what you
about.
watch every day. I can guarantee it. I don't bet you don't follow it unless you're like strictly that's your job.
Right. So
So,
anyways, it's one of
geez,
those things that like, hey, here we go. So it's one of those items where we're looking at just our system in general and just the young talent
mhm,
that's come up. And honestly, we're excited about where that stands.
yeah,
And Depoto did have an interview this morning where he did talk through a lot of these items of what he's looking forward to on the team moving forward. And I got to say, like, first of all, Jage is a beast.
yeah. Go
Um,
follow Jage.
Go follow Jage, Jage on Twitter or X, whatever. He does great breakdowns. Everyone literally asks him, like, bro, why do you do this? But also, thank you.
Yeah,
But he just gives you bullet points of the questions that are asked and then what his answers were. And we wanted to just do a quick summation of this. So first of all, he's seeing Spire going to be more high leverage, which I see coming. I mean, having a
I
lefty is helpful just to mix that
I mean
up.
it's helpful, but like you
Spire,
can't.
he was a beast for the most part last year. I'd say like 75% of the time he was great.
Yes, but this was because I mean he was a mid reliever guy, barely made the team, and then he ended up becoming a high leverage guy, which I'm like
Not high leverage. I mean,
not high leverage,
he's
but
not throwing eighth or ninth
he's
innings.
only good against lefties.
That's not necessarily
That
true.
is true. He hangs sliders like no other against righties. So I would not like to see him in high leverage situations. In my opinion, I think they would go out and get a guy.
With this bullpen though, I'm totally fine with just like, hey, let's roll the dice and just see what comes out.
Yeah, but I mean, correct. If I trust anything, it's the bullpen.
Right. And they'll figure it out. And you know what? If Spire doesn't do great, then like there's going to be other guys that step up. I mean, they did talk about Thornton and they did talk about Voth, that those guys are going to get stretched out, especially at the beginning of the season. It
Thornton
sounds like,
surprised me.
yeah, me too. But it sounds like they're going to stretch those guys out to limit innings at the very beginning as we're on ramping our big arms.
Yep.
And they also mentioned Hancock in that situation. So I'm a little curious about why that name got brought up. It makes me feel like maybe they're thinking putting more into a relief role, which would be
That'd be
weird.
cool.
I mean, it might be cool. He's the only starting pitcher that's like MLB ready behind any of these guys. So if any of these guys go
Yeah.
down with an injury, Hancock's the first guy up. So I'd rather not figure that out. I'd rather not find that out anytime
Yeah.
soon.
But I mean, if he converts to a reliever, I mean that's 2 to 3 miles an hour and an uptick,
Right.
and he already has a good sinker, and he already has a good changeup.
Right.
So I mean, maybe he could be a high leverage guy. Who knows? But
Yeah.
that would be kind of a drastic change in a year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what they did with Edwin Diaz, though. I mean, Diaz was a starter, and they brought him up and
Yeah, but
then
then he
went
was
to
a
a
middle
reliever.
reliever right away. Then he became the
He
closer
was
over
high
time.
leverage within the same season, dude. He
Yeah,
was
but that
he was
it
closing
wasn't
games.
right away.
No, he was closing games by the end of that season, though.
But
And so, anyways, DePoto also talked about how Julio's developing more in his leadership, taking his game to the next level, that they're stoked to have Haniger back. So, I mean, there was a lot of stuff. He did talk about Polanco, and he covered a lot of the same things that we did today.
Yeah.
And basically just like, hey, you know what? Like, we're in a good spot.
Jerry also gave all the credit to Hollander on this Polanco deal. He said that
Over
they've made
100
over
calls.
100 phone calls for a single acquisition.
Over 2 years, though.
But I mean,
Still.
100 really? Like
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah. It was a guy they really wanted. And that makes me feel even better about it. I mean, I was already pumped on it,
It
but
feels like it happens every time the Mariners acquire someone. They're like, "Oh, we've really been built in on this guy forever now."
which we
That
don't
means
know if that's
That means
actually
Brian Reynolds 2026.
2026. We
Yeah.
put a lot of work in on Brian Reynolds. I don't know. And then just one last little note, just a little stat here that I thought was cool is that Cal in 2023 did lead MLB catchers in home runs with 30 and caught stealings 24 and 23. And he's the first catcher to do that since Mike Piazza.
Yep.
Did you watch Piazza? You never did, right? You never.
No.
Mike
Come on
Piazza
now.
with the Mets, dude, he was a beast.
I mean, I've seen clips, but I mean, obviously, I didn't get to watch him.
So the fact that Cal is being uttered in the same sentence as Mike Piazza is pretty cool.
Is pretty. Yeah,
That's pretty
cool.
rarefied air.
I know how
so.
good he is. I just never got to watch him.
Yeah, and I think Cal. What's weird is I still think he's like wildly underrated. I think that like across the league they're not
Like I
talking
said, they
about
put
him.
Alejandro Kirk as a better catcher than
Right.
Cal Raleigh.
Like I mean like fine like hey you know what like ignore him or give him ammo.
I think Cal's the 4th or 5th best catcher right now.
Yeah,
So
I don't think that.
Here's the thing: all
think
these
that's a good
other
point.
big networks don't agree with it, like MLB Network. But if you listen to podcasts that actually know ball, like just baseball fans or talking baseball, like they know their stuff. So screw you, MLB Network.
All right, well now that we're talking about old players and whatnot, let's get into our player of the week. All right, so mine is a Mariners legend. However, on the bad side of legend, typically. So I'm going to utter a name, and anybody that's over the age of 30 is going to cringe a bit. You don't have that experience, so you're just going to zone out while I talk about my player of the
Correct.
week. So my is actually someone that I brought up last week, and then figured, I probably got to give a little context about who this guy is, and that is Bobby Ayala. So what you just heard across the airwaves is the cringe that other fans that are of my age and older are feeling right now. And that's because Bobby Ayala was the OG Fernando Rodney experience. Whenever he took the ball, you had no idea what was going to happen. Dude blew a ton of big games in his career. Was a negative 1.6 WAR. His win-loss record, which it doesn't matter a ton, but whatever, is 37 and 44. Had a 4.78 ERA, 59 saves, 14 games started. He did start his career in Cincy, came to the Mariners in 94 as a 24-year-old. He was a starter to start his career, and then the Mariners turned it into a reliever. And he ended up being our high leverage guy in 8th and 9th innings back in the 94-95 seasons. Had 18 saves and then 19 saves respectively. But dude, he blew a ton of games. This is a guy that was a Mariners legend in all the wrong ways. If you say his name to anybody above the age of 30, we all remember him, and mostly in a pretty bad light. Dude, he got absolutely shelled. So when we played New York in the ALDS, he got absolutely hammered, and somehow the Mariners still won that game. We still found a way to win. And then, of course, his next appearance was against Cleveland in the ALCS, and he threw 3 innings of 1-run ball. And that was totally Bobby Ayala in a nutshell, right? Was that he literally like some starts would come out and be lights out and hold us in a game and do great and even pitch across multiple innings. And then there was some that he couldn't even get out of the inning because he would give up 6 runs in one inning. So he just absolutely was roll of the dice. You never knew what he was going to give you. And ended up ending his career in '99 with the Cubs, played 8 total seasons in the league. But Bobby Ayala is absolutely a Mariners legend with those in the older crowd, as we remember just what that guy did in our organization. He had a couple of really good saves, but mostly was not an overall great experience. So that is my player of the week this week.
Okay, so moving on to mine. This was a lot more recent.
Ethan checking back in.
Well, I had to check the Orioles
Oh
majority
yeah.
stake. They sold it to 2 billionaires, by the way. So they're now going to probably spend a lot of money
Wow. So they're going to go from a really cheap team like the
to a
Mariners and the Rays
freaking
to
powerhouse.
spending. Hey, Mariners. Hey,
Hey,
Stanton,
Stanton.
sell the team. Sell the team to Jeff Bezos and let's go to the moon, dude.
So my player of the week is Carlos Santana. So if there's a few facts that you might not know about Carlos Santana. Obviously, we know him from 2022. But before then, he was acquired back in 2019. We got him in the trade that sent Gene Segura, James Pazos, and Juan Nicasio, so Segura and 2 relievers basically, to Philadelphia for Carlos Santana and J.P. Crawford. 10 days later, he was sent in a
Flipped him.
3-team deal
Yep.
that sent Jake Bowers to Cleveland, Yandy Diaz to Tampa Bay,
Yep.
from Cleveland to Tampa Bay,
Yep.
and we acquired Edwin Encarnacion and
Parrot.
cash.
Mr. Parrot.
And then we reacquired him at the 2022 trade
And
deadline
thank God
from
we
Kansas
did.
City.
Thank God we did. I don't
Thank
think
God
we
we did.
I don't think we make the playoffs without him.
Exactly. We traded him for 2 AAA relievers. He only hit 192 with us over that half a season.
But I feel like every hit
Every hit was at the right time.
was at the right time.
He had
I remember him
15 tanked that year.
Toronto,
Toronto,
yeah,
New York, the playoffs.
the playoffs against Toronto.
Yeah.
Toronto fans hate that dude.
Oh, I know. I remember when he got Manoah twice or whatever.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, like I said, started the greatest playoff comeback in team history and recent memory, to be
Yeah.
honest. Not even just team stuff, just
In
recent
the
memory. Down
MLB.
8-1 in the 6th inning.
Right.
You hit a grand slam, and now the eyes are opened a little bit.
Yep.
And then we let him walk after 2022, and he freaking raked.
Goes to Milwaukee and rakes.
And he's still a free agent, but I only put him because I know he does not fit the current agenda of our roster.
Right.
So I was putting a pretty safe bet that we're not going to get him. But
Carlos Santana, man.
Carlos Santana, Mariners legend at first, and then we reacquired him, and then became an actual Mariners legend.
Right. And honestly, like I said, that 22 run does not happen without Carlos Santana. I'm a firm
And
believer of that.
We've said this before. If he was on the team last year, we probably would have got in.
You fill in that
over Texas.
You fill in that DH role with him instead. That honestly, that's probably worth at least 3 or 4 wins. So,
but now we have Mitch Garver.
let's get it. Let's get it. All right. Well, let's get into our prospect insider. All right, man, take us away. This is a guy that you're excited to talk about, so let's get after it.
Yeah, so this is the only problem by doing an episode, these episodes, is we kind of run out of prospects sometimes. So, but mine is not a guy that you maybe have never heard of, but if you are like on the casual side of fans, you might have not have heard of him. His name is Teddy McGraw. He was our 3rd-round pick back in 2023. He fits the current agenda of Mariners, by the way. He is a nasty pitcher when he plays. His problem is an injury history. 2019, he had Tommy John. Last year, he had an elbow issue. If you follow college baseball, you know that Wake Forest was a powerhouse last year.
Stallion with Wake Forest.
Yeah, Wake Forest was a powerhouse last year. They lost in the College World Series final to LSU, but they were ranked number 1 throughout most of the year. He would have been their ace. And their ace actually turned out to be Rhett Lauder, who was the number 7 pick, but he was better than Rhett Lauder. So there's really high upside here. Like I said, the problem is his injury history. But we took a shot on him in the 3rd round just because of how much potential he does have. He tops out at 98 miles an hour. He has a nasty slider/sweeper kind of pitch, and he has a mid-80s change. If being a starting pitcher doesn't work out for him, potential reliever. That Wake Forest team was filled with a bunch of maniacs. So he's probably one of those dogs as a reliever. But in my opinion, he's about 8 to 12 range in our system. Last year, at the end, they had him at around the 16 range, but I think the hype will start to gather up once he gets
He's probably
actual innings.
he's probably a 2025 arrival, I'd bet.
Yeah, but like I said, he's probably going to be a reliever just because of his injury history. Um, just like we're talking about now with Emerson Hancock.
But he has his stuff.
He does have the stuff.
So we'll
So
see.
keep an eye out for that name. I imagine he'll be in one of either high A or low A, maybe even double A. Who knows? That's just depends if the arm talent is still there.
Yeah.
So Teddy McGraw.
Definitely a name to keep track of. Let's wrap up with our hot corner. So our hot corners are in opposition of each other.
Yep.
Strictly.
You can blame Trevor for that one.
Mine is really quick. Ethan's is really quick. Do you want to start with yours since you wrote yours in there first?
Yeah. I don't think we're done. I think we're either going to get maybe a reliever of the Phil Maton, Ryan Stanek kind of leverage-ish guy. Other than that, I don't really see a huge need other than third base still, but I think if that platoon kind of intrigues them a little bit because they only need one of them to work.
Right.
So,
and there's still a chance that Rojas could be an everyday guy.
Yeah, there's still a chance. So, I mean,
so I don't know. Like, I have not written off Rojas. Like, towards the end of the season when he was getting everyday reps, he was hitting right-handers just fine, as left-handers just fine. Like, he was hitting both just fine. So it might not be a situation where we have to platoon hit.
Yeah. So like, here's the thing with if you sign like someone like Matt Chapman, but
that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But here's the thing: if that pulls it'll pull Rojas probably to the bench, and then you have a bench of Zavala, Urias, Rojas, and then either one of Demo, Haggerty, Samad Taylor. I'm looking down the list here. Michael Chavis, Cade Marlowe, Taylor Trammell, Dominic Canzone, Zach Deloach, like just a lot of kind of the same guys.
Cade will be up, or not Cade. Canzone will be up. Yeah, Canzone will be up. He'll start.
But I'm saying, like, if you sign a guy like that, I mean, that just completely. First of all, that'll get Taylor Trammell DFA'd.
I just don't think any of this is going to happen. So my hot corner is in direct opposition. I think we're done. I think Dipoto's happy with how things are looking. I could see them adding a reliever. I mean, here's the deal: is if we believe their payroll numbers, we're about 10 mil or a little bit less. We don't know the exact cash that went out with the Polanco deal, by the way. So we did send some cash along with that deal. We do not have an official number for what that is yet. And so if we're being honest, we probably have 8 mil, 10 mil, somewhere in there. That's reliever money, So I think maybe we go get a reliever. I think we could potentially just stay pat, and that's my hot corners. I think we're done adding any big names, any big positions. Like I don't think Solaire's in the running anymore. I don't think Chapman's in the running anymore. Like, I don't think we're going to be able to get any of those guys if we really are capped self-imposed with that 8 to 10 mil. So I'm going to say my hot corners, we're done. Ethan's saying we are not done.
Yeah, and another thing, I mean, if we end up signing like an outfielder that can actually play the outfield, that means that knocks Mitch to the bench potentially. It knocks Kenzone in a deep hole in AAA. Yep. Trammell's gone. Then you just have like kind of just a cluster of the same.
Well, Rayleigh too. I mean, Rayleigh
would start though.
Yeah.
And then I just saw this on X while I'm scrolling. The Hot Stove show tonight at 7 p.m. So this will be uploaded after this show happens. But it has Justin Hollander, Mitch Garver, Justin Toole, who's the director of player development, Greg Green, the vice president of marketing with the Mariners, and Colt Emerson.
Wow.
So that's a pretty stoked show.
That's a cool lineup.
So when you're hearing this, go check back at the Hot Stove show on Seattle Sports. So I will definitely be watching it.
Yeah, we'll be watching. And if you want to know our live reaction to some of the things they're saying, we will be talking about it on X, I'm sure.
Yep.
But yeah, man, hey, what a week. Holy smokes. And here's the deal. Like, coming into like 2 days ago, I was worried that we weren't going to have enough for this week's show. And then here we are.
Yeah, here we
Tons of stuff to talk about. That feels like it happens every week, which is great. Giving us lots of content to break down. And we just wanted to take a second here, man. So we crested over 100 followers on X yesterday, and all of a sudden that number, we like barely crested over 100, and now we're like 115, 120. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we're adding a ton. It feels like daily, which is great. come interact with us. Come give us a like, a follow. Come,
We're on
comment
there
on
all
some
the
of our stuff.
time.
We're on there. Both of us are on there all the time. And but yeah, man. So we crested over 100. We have 51 subscribers to our podcast, man. So we have 51 people that are subscribed, listening to the show every week. So if that's you, thank you for listening. And we're excited to just keep doing this. I'm just pumped for the season to start because this
Me
show is
too.
going to look a little different. We're going to be restructured. The segments are going to be different when we actually get in season, what that's going to look
I want to
like.
start getting into
I
rankings.
want to get into rankings. I want to get into like our spring training analysis. We're going to talk through what players are doing what. We're excited, man. So thank you guys so much for listening. Wherever you listen to podcasts, go like us, go subscribe, go leave a comment, interact with us. It all helps. So do you want to close us out here, E?
All you, bro.
That was it.
All you, bro.
That was it. So hey, if you want to leave a voicemail, 253-201-4364, we want to air your takes. So if you have a feeling about these trades, maybe you don't like the Polanco trade, call us in,
Let us know.
let us know, and we'll react to it live on the show. We would love to do that. So call in, leave a voicemail. Again, that's 253-201-4364. And again, man, just thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. We feel blessed to be able to do this. We wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. And we just feel honored that you would take an hour out of your day once a week to listen to us talk about Mariners, man. So blessings. Blessings on blessings on blessings. This is the Soda Mojo Podcast.